Did you know that a recruiter can be your best advocate? When they reach out, when they start a conversation with you, how does a recruiter play a role in championing you to the hiring manager? My next guest will be sharing fascinating stories and insights about how your recruiter is your best advocate in the job market here on Early Career Unlocked. Welcome, Kate.
Well, how it's great to be here.
Well, before we get started, there's something I want to mention. Now, Early Career Unlocked is Early Career Unlocked because of you, Kate. And the reason, and about a year ago, I had this idea of a talk show, Early Career Unlocked, and I told you about it. And your response to me was, why not? And I listed about 1,000 excuses in my mind, kids, school, this, work. But your question always stuck with me. But why not? Why not? I just want to take the time to say thank you, first of all, for giving me that kick in the pants to get Early Career Unlock started. Now, a welcome guest and Early Career Unlock the talk show. So thank you, Kate.
I am so thrilled to be here, and it was why not because I saw this in you. I mean, you had this just right in your soul and in your heart, and I've watched every single episode that you've done and liked them and hearted them on LinkedIn, and so I am so honored and thrilled to actually be a guest now. That was something that was like this wild and crazy idea that clearly had so much resonance, and you've taken it and run with it. It's amazing. It's amazing. Great job.
Thank you. So I know you're here to tell us about the powers of a recruiter, your ultimate advocate. But before we touch on that, tell us a little bit about you.
Well, once again, I'm Kate Day. I am currently the founder of Career Forward Strategies. And the reason that I'm doing that, much as like Aaliyah, we're founders of things that we like to do, is that I was at First Republic Bank prior to that. And for those of you who may not know, I'm sure many of you do know, First Republic was the second largest bank failure in the history of the United States, and it was seized by the FDIC in May. And I'm not one to just sort of sit around and wait for something just to come to me. I founded this organization, and in the meantime, I am doing consulting and coaching and loving every second of it, and having the opportunity to take the time to do things like this, which I love.
Tell the viewers, how are you knowledgeable when it comes to this topic?
Well, I've spent 20 years in the early talent space. Initially, I ran the career offices for Mills College, Women's College on the West Coast in Oakland, California, and California College of the Arts, working with students, art and design students, and really launching them sort of whoosh over the wall, launching them into their careers. And then from that, I went into sort of the early talent space and being an advocate for students and non-students into the early talent space at Workday, then DocuSign, then at First Republic. My thrill to everything that I do is really launching students and early talent folks into their careers from the undergrad to the PhD level globally. So that's where I bring this from. And I've seen a lot of, sort of terror in the eyes of students as they're stepping into that interview space. And I really want to demystify it a little bit and help folks in that early talent space realize that when they're having these connections and conversations with those recruiting teams, that they do have an advocate and an ally in that space, and to trust that a little bit.
Why are we advocates? Why is a recruiter your advocate?
Well, number one, your recruiter is your best ally. We're successful when you're successful. We're really not trying to rule you out. We are so trying to rule you in. We're seeking the best talent. We love launching careers, and we tend to follow you when, not as a crazy stalker, as a great advocate, just watching you move forward because there was probably something we really saw in you in the beginning. I always say if I would hire you once, I would hire you again. And Ali and I were talking about a particular young man that we hired at DocuSign as an intern. He was converted into a full-time role, and watching him just take it and run with it. He's at so many events. If you're ever at a recruiting event for DocuSign, you will probably run into him. His name is Diamond. Shout out Diamond. And it's been amazing to say we had a little bit of something to do with identifying this diamond in the rough diamond, and really just giving him the platform to do what he was going to do. We didn't make him, he made himself, but we just helped give him that opportunity. Number two, understand a little bit more about really what happens behind the scenes in that hiring process. It'll help you be better prepared for the ups and downs. And when you think, well, I just replied on Tuesday, it's Thursday, and I haven't heard anything, sort of understanding that there are thousands of people in particular roles that are really impacted that are applying for that same role. And I know you hear a lot that the ATS is ruling me out based on keywords. Guess what? That's usually a human being that is
Right.
looking at those resumes and making a really thoughtful decision. We're not going there going, no, no, no. We're trying to find the yes in there. There's lots of moving parts behind the scenes. Funny, not so funny story. A recruiter on my team back in 2019, before 2020 times, had a really popular role that she had posted on a Thursday. She was, if Friday hit, she meant to sort of close it for the weekend, forgot to close it, came back Monday morning, and there were almost 5,000 applicants in that role. Now,
Yikes.
she needed to go through all of those
Right.
applicants. So just kind of understand that we're going to get in touch with you as soon as we can. Sometimes no news is good news. It means you're still in the process. But we're
Hmm.
also going to, really good recruiters are going to let you know as soon as possible if you're not a good candidate for that particular role. So don't freak out. Don't start reaching out to us every 4.5 days, but feel free to reach out and say, I applied for that role. I'm really interested. I really hope you consider me. Number three, tell us who you really are. Don't try to be someone else. Don't try to be someone your family says that you should be or your school says you should be. Tell us who you are. We may have information on other roles that you might be a fit for. I have a great example of a student that I interviewed from a big event at Johns Hopkins, and she was applying for a particular role. When I kept looking at her resume and I'm having this conversation with her and watching that excitement in her face when she just talked about a particular subset of what she might get to do, I remember saying, I'm going to move you forward for that role, but would you trust me to put you in for this other role that she had seen, but she was too nervous to actually apply for? Well, I put her
Yes.
into that secondary role. She got the interview, rock star. She knocked it out of the park. She got the internship, got the conversion to full time, and is just having an amazing time in that role, showcasing what she was. If we had just sort of kept her in that silo, if she hadn't opened up about who she really was, she'd be doing well, but her heart might not be singing at the same time.
Well, recruiters, one of our secret superpowers is if you kind of feed us on what you like, we're really good at understanding what you're passionate about, as
Yes.
well as aligning you to something that may be coming down the pipeline that you may not even know about. But you have to open up to us and let us know how you feel and what excites you.
Yes. One of those magic moments when you're in an interview is if your recruiter says, yes, and have you ever thought about? Because that means they see something that maybe you haven't even seen yet or considered. So, be open to
And
those.
and then students are they're looking at the title, but we know the job description.
Yes.
So we're that advocate for you where we can see deeper into what could be really a good fit for you that would actually help you in your career.
Right. And we know the hiring managers, we know the teams. So we sort of know
Right.
where, teams that might be getting ready to grow, where you might be able to move and your velocity might be a little bit faster towards promotion and growth. So realize that we are there to help you be successful. Really good recruiters are, Lee and I have joked about this. We're glorified matchmakers. Like you, oh, magic kismet. We do
Yes.
celebrate when those work because we know it's magic. And that, especially early in your career, those first couple of roles, they're life changing. They're going to help set you on a trajectory for success going forward. And we love to. We were talking about a few of the students that we've helped launch into careers, and how we
Hmm.
still watch them and just say, "Oh my gosh, we just
So
know that."
proud.
Oh, we're so proud of you, as proud
Yeah.
as parents even, and you're not our kids.
I love the piece of advice that you offer today. And to our viewers, the power of recruiters, your ultimate advocate. Three things you need to know from Kate today. One, your recruiter is your best ally. Two, understand what really happens in the hiring process. And three, tell us who you really are. Before we wrap things up, is there any last piece of advice that you would like to offer to our viewers?
Yes, and it stems from a mentor and professor that I had when I was going for my master's degree in career development, and it was John Krumholz, who was actually faculty at Stanford, and he came up with a theory around career development called planned happenstance. Anybody who's worked with me or been an intern has heard this. They're like, oh my God, that's the planned happenstance thing again. It's this idea that serendipity does happen. There are those like, huh, that's an interesting, I wonder what that is. Oh, that's a role I'm sort of intrigued by. But a lot of people will walk by them and go, no, well, this is my blinders are here. This is what I'm paying attention to. But if you stop and you take that curious chance, that risk to try that thing that's a little bit terrifying, that's where the work that you do makes a difference. So it's the serendipity and then what you do with it that comes together that will move your career forward in leaps and bounds versus just following the safe trajectory. I often say if you have two options and one terrifies you, take the terrifying option because that's going to move you forward faster and probably feed your heart as well as your mind. So, I do that all the time when I'm looking at a role, safer, terrifying. And I always go for the terrifying option.
Well, that was very powerful, Kate. And thank you so much for being on the show today.
Oh, it was wonderful. Thank you. I'm back anytime. And I hope it was informative and helpful.
And to our viewers, subscribe for more career advice from industry experts like Kate here on Early Career Unlocked.
You need to get, oh, I know what you need. You need one of those, like the plates, right? The slate, take 24.